And yet again, we are all over the country. Let us go to a senator from Queensland who is currently in Canberra, none other than Senator James McGrath, who is here to take your calls tonight. Lovely to see you, mate. Been too long. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, good to see you also through the magic of the camera that I'm staring at. But a belated Happy New Year, and let's get onto these calls.
You, like I, person who thought fondly of the former president. I'm not entirely sure that that's going to be his path back, but anyone suggesting that Trump has no effect on American politics in the next little while, well, they're talking out their backside, aren't they?
Oh, they're so much talking out their backsides. Trump is still a major player in US politics. He is so important in terms of getting out that vote. And the Republicans need to use him for the midterms. I can't see him running for Congress, becoming Speaker. I can see him, though, trying to run for President again in 4 years' time. I can see him trying to build up this political movement because he's someone who speaks to people. And the most frustrating thing about Trump is that he actually delivered what he said he was going to do, but geez, his PR was so bad, and geez, he ended so bad. But you know, he said he was going to build a wall. He built a wall. He said he was going to cut red tape. He cut red tape. He said he was going to cut taxes. He cut taxes. He said exactly what he was going to do, and that's why a large percentage of Americans trust him and will vote for him again.
I understand that we don't want a hospital car park to be something that commuters use as a way to, you know, there and a quick little Uber ride round to the office. I get it. But we pay a lot of money in taxes. There has to be some sort of a rebate system, doesn't there, to turn around and say that once you hit X amount of dollars, because look, you know, we're not going to be able to get everyone for every $10, $5, $20, but if you've got somebody who's been in there for a long period of time and you want to be by their bedside for obvious reasons, there's got to be a way to get it back, doesn't there?
You think there'd have to be a way to get it back because it is unfair for those families who want to go and see their relatives who are not just in there overnight but are in there for long term. So you think that it's a state government issue. You think the state governments will think, hang on, we need a bit of compassion here. Yes, we've got good hospitals, but yes, we've got to make sure people can get to these hospitals. And in some states, they've got good public transport. In other states, people need to drive there. So it ends up being a tax on families trying to visit their relatives who are in hospital.
The federal government hoping to get us to 4 million people vaccinated by April. And that in and of itself, Senator McGrath, is really the biggest story in the country right now. Now, we'll talk about the other stuff that's around, but, the availability of the vaccine, the rollout of the vaccine, and as Greg Hunt has made it very clear, there's going to be 30 to 50 locations. We'll list those as we start to know them around the country of hospitals, people who are in aged care facilities. If we can get by April to 4 million people, to the people most at risk, it means potentially the lockdown culture can start to end because while the virus will still transmit, the idea of it getting to the people that it is most likely to kill, the impetus for these lockdowns really does start to melt away as soon as April.
Oh, you'd hope so. With Daniel Andrews, you don't know. But these vaccines are so important, and I'd encourage everybody to make sure that you get yours. If we get 4 million done by April, it means those people in the community who are most at risk have been protected from transmission of COVID. But what it will do, and it is so important, because you listen to the people you had on earlier, Andrea and Ray and Peter, talking about the impact upon their businesses in regional Victoria. And so I know where I live in Warwick, you want to try and get someone to do some building work in Warwick, it's almost impossible because of the demand. So you go down to regional Victoria and the Premier, because someone basically gets a sniffle, and that's where we're at, 1 or 2 people get it, that he shuts down the entire state. I mean, this is ridiculous, a ridiculous way of running a state. And that's why the vaccine is so important, because what it will do, it will take power away from that tin pot dictator and give it back to people to get on with their lives. So it is really, really important.
What Fiona's talking to is correct, right? The idea about the multiple PhD person sitting behind you. But obviously, the people whom are elected by us are the most important people in the room because of why you represent and why you are there. What I also find a little bit interesting, and actually, frankly, a little bit distasteful, was that you were in the chamber today, no doubt. You see Larissa Waters saying the Prime Minister has to have sensitivity training because Twitter apparently can know what's in his heart and what's in his head. We're going to get into that phase now where it's only going to get sillier from here, and that in and of itself, to me, is a disservice to the seriousness of the issue and the obvious issues around it.
You're on the money there. And what Senator Waters did, I thought, was just playing politics with what is a very serious issue. And we are on a unity ticket on this program and in this building in relation to how the matter of the alleged rape should be dealt with. And what is disappointing, whether it's on Twitter or politicians of another party deciding to play politics with it. And the treatment of what people were saying about the Prime Minister was to a point of hysteria when he is trying to deal with a very serious issue in relation to an alleged rape. And people are subscribing motives to him which clearly do not exist. We need to make sure that this building, that this Parliament is a building for all Australians. And that starts with respect. And sometimes you talked about the power imbalance. Well, you come here as a servant. I am only here because I'm a servant of the people of Queensland. And if politicians think that they're high and mighty, well, the higher you fly, the harder you fall.